conflict and chaos in that sort of way, what I would do is I would just say, this is kind of the moral chessboard when you're amongst chaos. And how do you bring everybody together, right? And how do you move from a position of chaos to organization and get people on the same page, which is not entirely easy, but that's what makes life interesting, right? The deep thoughts, yeah. Good afternoon, Amanda. Sorry for being late again today, and Betty White Resurrected is here already. Another day where I have to start my day with truck maintenance. So I had to go pick up my truck and pay a bill and drive it literally 300 meters to another mechanic for another series of repairs. I had a long conversation with John, who's a trucker out west in BC. He's like a career trucker. He's been doing it for decades. And he knew. I told him, the shackles and the injector cups. He's like, oh yeah, we've all been there, So that's been my week. Good morning, Patricia. I was thinking about you the other day because I wanted to connect with you. RE, the Netherlands. I'm gonna be on some really prominent platforms in the next couple of weeks in the United States and other countries. So if we can connect, if you maybe send me a private message or something and see if we can, there's some messaging that's from the Netherlands that's not getting out, and I'd like to help get some attention on you guys and kind of get a better, concise description of what's going on behind the scenes and kind of compare it to what we were dealing with. So if you could reach out to me privately, let me know. Betty White says, hey, side note, Jordan Peterson is awesome. He is awesome. And, we were having one of our conversations a couple months ago, whatever it was. And, I said to him, not to overstep my boundary, but do you mind, can I give you some constructive criticism? And he said, yeah, sure, tell me. And I started telling him halfway through, I don't want to say what it was. He's like, oh, no, it's okay. I have lots of people around me who are telling me the same thing, and it wasn't really all that relevant. But it just goes to show that he's a real intellectual in that he favors criticism and challenging and different ideas and engaging in those sorts of communications. But anyways, well, let's first start with okay. So a couple complaints. Yesterday, I did an interview on a local radio station in Toronto called Saga 960, and I was on the Richard Serrett show. I tried to do what I'm trying to do more and more is if I have the opportunity, I will broadcast it to the locals platform while simultaneously going through the interview. So the sound quality might not be the greatest because I don't have a soundboard that I'm patching through yet, at least. But I also thought that it would be interesting to be able to hear the whole thing. So it was streaming on locals while I was on the radio with Richard, and the last, I think 2 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes got cut off. That's my fault because I'm an idiot. No, my iPad just wasn't fully charged. I thought it was charging that night, and it looks like it wasn't. It turns out there's a problem with one of my connections into the wall, which I fixed this morning, so I shouldn't have that issue today. So I do apologize. If you do want to hear the whole interview, Richard's program and Mark Petroni's program, by the way, and I do go on Mark Petroni's show periodically. They're like the little bit of legacy media that I know I can trust, and they're kind of in both worlds, or swimming in both worlds, because they take their radio show and they wisely upload it as a podcast. So both of them, Richard Serrett and Mark Petroni, you can go into whatever podcast player you use, or whatever RSS feeder, and go to Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, and type in Richard Serrett, and you can subscribe and listen to yesterday's interview. And the same with Mark Petroni, who I probably will be on at some point this week with. I actually could call him after here. So there you go. Okay, Patricia, I will PM you. Yes, please. Thank you. Let me know. Betty White, the sound came through pretty good when watching the interview yesterday via locals. Yeah, but the quality's not like through this, and I've bought 3 splitters already to plug the mic into both my devices, and they work for, I don't know, 4 or 5 interviews, and then it's just really bad quality wiring, and it stops working. So I'll have to figure out a better solution. Maybe when I go to the States next, I'll see if I can get, I'll overpay for a splitter and see if I can get something that's working. Okay, the other technical issues, you can tell how the lack of professionalism here, which I wear with pride, what can I tell you, is I uploaded my interview with one of the interviews I did with Newsmax. Newsmax is interesting because they were banned from YouTube. It's frustrating because you go and you do interviews with them. They have a pretty broad audience, and they are on cable in the United States. But you have to go to their website. I type in my name, and for some reason, I can't always find the interviews. I find some of them, but I don't find others. Anyways, the one I did on the 21st, I couldn't find it. But what I did, knowing that might be an issue, is I screen recorded it and I sound recorded it while we were in the truck doing the interview. And no, was that in the truck or was that at home? No, I think that one was at home. Anyways, wherever it was, doesn't really matter. So I uploaded it, and I uploaded the wrong file. I uploaded the file without the sound. I had to put it into a video editor and merge the 2 tracks, the audio and the video track, and upload. So I've uploaded it today. I said it as a premiere. So while I'm at the event tonight, which I'll explain in a second, that is going to premiere on YouTube, and hopefully that won't be another technological car accident, but it is what it is. So Newsmax interview will be the good quality one with the sound will be uploaded. The other thing I wanted to bring up is now that we're all shopping for Christmas, stocking stuffers, I don't know. I keep periodically going to look at the reviews, and I keep asking all of you and getting people to tell me and send me private messages, and I keep saying, tell me what you're critical about it. Give me criticisms of it. And maybe you're just all very polite and much more polite than I am. But all the feedback has been positive, and I don't know. I thank you. And yesterday I mentioned this during my stream. A friend of mine who is a liberal, soft liberal, soft conservative, I don't know, somewhere between the two. Who had he didn't care about the Freedom Convoy, didn't want to know what it was about, bought into the fake news narrative, I think he's about a quarter way through the book, and he said, wow, I can't believe what I believed and what I was told by our news. And I said, yeah, that's why I call them fake news media, and you always get upset at me. So now you understand why. So this seems to be helping to maybe not completely change people's ideas, but at least alter their perspective that perhaps there's more to the story, and the real story is all positive and loving. And what better way to ring in Christmas and the New Year around a story that's positive and loving and allow you maybe to engage in this conversation, because so many families fight during Christmas time. And often it gets a little bit political, but I think there's enough in here that doesn't really have to get all that political. You can just talk about all the wonderful and loving stories and the positive experiences that happened here. And, yesterday somebody went on my Twitter when I posted, Mike had one of the guys I know, the guy who produced the little intro video on honkingforfreedom.com, he had a baby within the past couple of days, and that was yet another Convoy baby that was birthed this week. So that's the kind of positivity is there. And then one of the other guys, somebody else responded who I don't know, saying, no baby yet, but I fell in love during the Convoy, and we've been together ever since. So, it doesn't get better than that. Those are the sorts of stories you want to share and you want to hear about during Christmas, I think. So that's your way to do it, in my opinion. So, at Etsy, by the way, there was a problem with the Etsy because somebody had messaged me. My technical team is dealing with it. There's just some digital communication on the back end, whatever it was, with their API. They're fixing it right now, so it'll be available on Etsy again, I hope today. And for those of you who are in the United States, of which I'm sure there's going to be a lot more as of next week, it'll be available at Barnes & Noble online. I don't know if Barnes & Noble ships out of the United States. They might not. I have no idea. But alternatives to Amazon, I'm trying to give them to you as much as possible. I'm going to be doing another Substack soon. There's a couple Substacks in line. BJdichter.substack.com is the address, and that's going to be 10 more things revealed in Honking For Freedom, which I think many of you will find interesting and might be worth sharing to people who haven't purchased the book or might be incentivized if they see these are some of the additional talking points and themes that are addressed in the book. Tonight, I'm going to talk about that after. Let's first get into the topic that I posted, which is Jordan Peterson, this debate on anonymity and compassion and the roots of conflict, as kind of I see it. So there was, for those of you who don't know, there was a bunch of exchanges between Jordan Peterson and a whole bunch of people, a bunch of his fan base as well. Jordan Peterson made a statement. I'm not going to read the exact statement, but the idea was about anonymity on the internet and that people should not be able to be anonymous on the internet. And he put a poll out there that should people have anonymity. And it was favored something like 40% versus 60% or 39 versus 60% in favor of anonymity. And I agree. And if you go through the thread, it becomes very apparent that he's trying to explain the tweet, especially as people are coming back and forth with him. And my personal opinion is I think maybe I understand what he was trying to say. I think the way he worded it went over some of the heads of some of the people who are watching it, which is fine. And the basic thing is there's anonymity and distinguishing between anonymity and real accounts, and that's where the debate is. So, and Elijah Blue, who is a human rights activist, very much impassioned because she was a victim of human trafficking. That's kind of her space that she's an expert in, and she's communicated with Elon and with Jordan Peterson on this topic. I spoke to her a number of times during the Freedom Convoy. Actually, she was great. She was very, very supportive of it, which was quite nice. She basically explained to Jordan that there's many people in countries where it's not safe to speak openly about human rights abuses and the reality of what goes on in their country. And he started off with saying, well, you're missing the point, and he goes on to more detail. But I think because I think the way some of the conversation gets, the water gets muddy because of confusion. And this comes back to something I'm seeing frequently and I've seen for a long time. And as somebody who does, for many, many years, I was on a university campus that was very, very far left, and I had to communicate with people and work with people who are on the far left or centrist, like a whole spectrum of different people. And I think this exchange with Jordan Peterson and his base is the root of so much of our conflict that we have when people go into their silos, not saying that they're in silos, but just as an example. And it's a pretty simple concept. And if you notice this and remember this in the back of your head during your Christmas dinners, when you're fighting about this, it might help you. And that is this simple thing I've noticed time and time again with these sorts of conversations that have so much conflict in it. And it's pretty simple. Both sides, let's say in a conversation when you have these two sides that are discussing the anonymity on the internet, they're having two different conversations and they don't realize it. That happens so much. And it's really nuanced. And you really got to sit back and listen to kind of to pick it out and to identify it. Jordan Peterson gave it away in one of the tweets when he said, I think it was to Eliza, or one of them. He said, "You're not understanding the point." His point was there should be a difference between people who are verified and who are people who are anonymous, right? And they're arguing with him that you have to have everybody has the ability to be have anonymity on the internet. Well, yeah, those are two different points, two different conversations. Nobody's saying they shouldn't. And maybe the way he worded it, they kind of either he worded it in a way that wasn't effective, or they didn't understand what he was trying to communicate. Doesn't matter. At some point, from the very beginning, there was a lack of communication or a lack of understanding of one another's points, and everybody kind of backed in to kind of solidify their point of the argument. And in my opinion, and what do I know? I'm just a trucker, right? But I think they're just having two different conversations. And they actually agree with each other. And this is when you have the most heated debates. Have you ever noticed people are on the complete opposite side of an issue? Or complete people who are not, close friends. It's very easy to have a conversation and not get, so impassioned in the debate and get emotional about the debate because whatever, who cares? What does this person know? Doesn't really matter, Like kind of how I look at a lot of people who attack me, right? But you have your most heated debates and the most heated arguments, which often, spiral into, fractures of friendships for periods of time amongst your family and friends and amongst people who usually agree with you, right? Who agree with you 80 to 90% of the time, but then you find the one issue that you disagree on or some nuance in an argument, and you interpret, like what's happening here, that you have a difference of opinion, which in this case you really don't, and everybody goes into their silos and gets angry because I can't understand. You always agree with me on everything. Like if you have a BFF, millennial term, if you have a BFF, I'm sure you've experienced that. You have a best friend who always agrees with me. Or when you disagree with stuff, like you have a different world, you kind of know that and you dismiss it. But if it's on the issue that you always agree on, then all of a sudden they disagree with you. It's maddening. It can make you insane, right? Sonia, I have heavy debates with my husband. Yes. And I'm sure you have the most impassioned debates with your husband or family than anybody else because they're the ones who are most aligned with you emotionally. And sometimes it even gets hurtful when somebody who you love so much, who agrees with you on so much, or on those specific issues, they agree with you. And then all of a sudden, they disagree with you. Like it almost feels like they're turning on you. And that's how it becomes, emotional. And I don't think that needs to happen. That's why I always try to step back, utilize observing ego. Let's look at the 50,000-foot view. Let's look at what if I'm in a debate with maybe somebody I'm dating or with a family member or whatever. Try to step back for a few minutes and sit back and how would a third party observe this? Would they say that these people are in disagreement with each other, or are they just having an emotional fight because they're not communicating properly? So I really think that's at the cusp of most of our arguments, and not all of them, but most of our arguments and a conflict in our life, which is why I always try to go through life with as little conflict as possible, which is maybe why I'm not afraid of conflict, and I welcome it because I really don't have much of it. I'm pretty good at it. Some of you might have seen it in a Twitter space recently, which, by the way, I'm going to air at some point and do a drinking party around, which will be quite fun. Because I don't mind that conflict because I know in that particular case, they're on the polar opposite and there's never going to be any agreement because certain people are trying to set me up. So now it's DEFCON 5. Now I get to fire all rounds on them and I don't really care, right? And that's very rare in life, right? Most of our conflicts are conflicts like this. And they don't really have to arise if we just sit back and think like, okay, what is what's that other person's perspective? And listen, I'm no lover of postmodernism at all. If any of you know me, but that's the case, at least for subjectivism in small doses of sitting back and trying to understand what is their subjective experience versus my subjective experience, because we're not having an objective conversation anymore. We're having a conversation and a disagreement on opinions. And like in this one, Eliza Blue thinks everybody should have anonymity on the internet. Jordan Peterson thinks we should distinguish between anonymous accounts and verified accounts on the internet, but they're not mutually exclusive. So those points are not at odds with each other, but they manage to just enter the debate at a point where they're not really understanding each other, and lo and behold, you have conflict. So at least that's my perspective. That's how I look at it. You tell me if you think I'm completely crazy, and it is what it is. When did this happen? How did this happen? It's always been out there, tolerance level exceeded, and who's to blame? It's being encouraged. Excellent questions. I have a theory, but what do I know? But I can tell you it seems to be at its worst, and it's not exhausting, and nor end seems near. Correct it if it's exhausting. Okay, so personally, I don't think, I think the opposite. I think that, yes, it can be exhausting. When you get trapped into these conversations and trying to get out of it, if you don't sit back and reset the conversation and maybe doing a steel man argument, steel manning is basically saying, okay, let me explain your argument in my words, and you tell me if I'm understanding you or not. And 90% of the time that fixes it. Because you explain that what you're saying is, in this case, you're against full anonymity on the internet. And Jordan Peterson would respond with, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to distinguish between those who are anonymous accounts and those who are verified accounts, not for the purpose of segregating people, which is what he was also trying, I think, to get at, but for the purpose of identifying who could potentially be just trolling, or is somebody who just needs anonymity for security. Those people will be in one basket, and then you could read through and you can really distinguish pretty quickly. Okay, this is not legitimate. This is just a troll, or this is somebody just has security concerns. And there you go. So that's just kind of, it's been eating at me because I've been seeing this for a few days, going back and forth. And I see all sorts of podcasts and platforms taking sides. And, I love Jordan Peterson, but he's wrong about this. And this person's right. And it's very easy to get sucked into this binary debate of who's right and who's wrong. And my argument is they're both right because they're both having different conversations. And it's very important to always be aware that could be happening. In my experience, that's where most conflict comes from. But, that's just my personal experience. And that's not always the case. Again, this is not binary. This is not always the case. But this is often the case, right? And, I went through and I looked through Jordan Peterson's tweets, and I probably would have worded it differently, and I think he might have worded it differently. It's interesting. He's an academic's academic. Stephen Hicks is like this. That sometimes Stephen Hicks will send, it's embarrassing to say, he'll send me an email, and he's very efficient in his language. Sometimes he'll send me an email, and it'll be very short, one sentence. And remember, this is like he's a philosopher, so he's very, very, very intelligent, more intelligent than I'll ever be. And so he'll send me like a one sentence email, and I'll be like, what? What? I could interpret this 3 different ways. And I think sometimes he's doing that intentionally as a mind exercise. I think he does that with his students. But it is what it is. Please help with the setup of Bitcoin. I have limited knowledge. Oh, I'm going to show you something that I just got. 1 second. So, a few weeks ago, I spoke at an event held by some Bitcoiners in Massachusetts called Mass Adoption, just outside Boston, and gave a speech on this. The speech is online. I've put it up a couple of times. I'll put it up again. It was, sometimes you give a speech and you're a little bit flat, and there's other times that you're really in touch with your emotional state, and you'll be able to communicate everything effectively. And I think in this speech I did that. I was feeling, I don't know, just was the right vibe, was the right mood, great people, a really nice microbrewery outside of Boston. It was amazing. Anyways, so gave a speech there, and it was the first time I actually saw Honking for Freedom in the United States, which was a momentous occasion for me. So thanks to Greg and everybody at Mass Adoption who put that on, and I look forward to seeing them again soon. So anyways, one of the sponsors was because you asked me about Bitcoin, was a Bitcoin cold storage wallet. It's not just an application, it's also hardware. So I reached out to them. I reached out to Zach. The name of it is Foundation, and I'm like, hey, dude, I'd love to get a hold of one of your wallets to test and to use and whatever. So and the reason I like this because I like design, and I'm a design snob, I guess, if we want to call it that. Like I like when, that whole philosophy that 99% of design is invisible. You can see when something has good design to it, a lot of thought has gone into it. Anyways, of all the wallets I've seen, this is the best in terms of design, and it's adorable. So he sent me one. So special thanks to Zach and Foundation. I'm going to talk about this more on another podcast, but this is what they sent me. This is what it looks like. This is called the Foundation Passport 2. And you might look at the design and say, hey, that looks familiar. And it does. It basically mimics an older Nokia type cell phone. And but this is a Bitcoin only cold storage wallet. And why do I like design? Because design kind of encourages engagement. When I see something that's designed well, then I want to use it. Then I'm even more interested in using it. So I have another cold storage wallet that I've been using for years. I also have a hot storage wallet and all that sort of stuff. I know you don't know what that means because you're new to Bitcoin, and don't worry about it. But this is ultimately where you want to end up, not necessarily with a Foundation wallet, but you want to end up with Bitcoin that is held off of an exchange in your own cold storage wallet that no one in the world has access to. And it's very important to understand, Bitcoin is not stored here. A cold storage wallet does not store your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is distributed on all the computers of the Bitcoin network around the world. All this stores is your authorization passport to transfer Bitcoin out. That's all it does. That's all a cold storage wallet does. A hot storage wallet holds that on your phone. This keeps it separate from the internet. So it's very cool technology. That's where you want to end up being. We will talk more about Bitcoin. I don't want to do too much of it here. We do it in Twitter Spaces with DJ Satoshi. But Rachel, you're on Facebook. You can send me a private message, and I can share with you the link when we do the beginner Bitcoin sessions on Twitter. I can maybe figure a way to stream them here. I'm usually in the truck when we're doing them. That's why. But when I'm at home, we can maybe do something about it and talk about it. I love, Alyssa says, I love his lectures. Oh, you're talking about Jordan Peterson. I think we all do. I love all good professors that give good lectures. Gad Saad is also one of my favorites. I mean, I know a lot of people know Gad from Joe Rogan, but watch his lectures. Really good, very strong. Stephen Hicks, same way. Those are kind of my three most influential professors. Yeah, I guess you'd call, they're all professors, but thought thinkers. And there's so many more, but those are kind of my favorite. Beth says, Boston, watched it. It was a good speech. Well, thank you. It was, and if you're, by the way, Beth, you live in Hamilton, if I remember correctly. I am going to be a keynote speaker at Bitcoin Canada, the first really big Bitcoin conference. I think I can say that now. I'm not sure. They told me I can say it. Anyways, which will be held in the summer of 2023. So I'll be sure to promote it here and tell you guys whenever. So get a Burlington, close to Hamilton. Yeah, that's my family lives in Oakville, or some of my family lives in Oakville, so I know the area well. Where can someone get that cool Nokia? It's not a Nokia. I haven't even turned it on yet. I haven't set it up. I haven't done anything. I'm gonna, as soon as I get some spare time, I got so many other things to do. But it just came yesterday. I'll probably, after this event with tonight, the Peterson event, when I come home, if I have a little bit of time, I'll start setting up this wallet and start using it, and I'll let you know how it is. It's called, I think the website is foundation.io. .io is a common domain name in the tech sector and Bitcoin sector, by the way. Just look for Foundation Passport or Foundation Bitcoin Wallet, and you'll find this. It's very cool. But let me see if it's how it performs. There's a lot of friction in the Bitcoin world, like always, because some of the source code I think came from Cold Card, which really does it does the same thing. I don't like to get involved in the confrontation. I think they're just different because the design language of both devices are different. I just prefer this design language, but I wish everybody the best. You can also get the Cold Card at Cold Kite, I think is the name of the website, and it does a very similar thing. All right. Delta, I still disagree. Okay. I mean, but I'm not telling you have to agree with me or whatever. That's what this is all about. We can disagree and we can talk openly and not be at each other's throats and support one another. Like, it's important to be able to support people even when you disagree with their opinion. Like, I have friends like that, friends in politics, that, disagree with a couple of perspectives and ideas, but still my friends, still support them no matter what, right? I think Elon is trying to figure out, with the blue check mark, you're acknowledged as being part of a real person, but still be anonymous to the public. I mean, right now, I can't even... I don't know what happened with Twitter Blue. I sent a bunch of messages. I want to pay my $8. But for whatever reason, it's not. It was available in Canada for a little bit, and now it's still not available. They're working out the bugs. So, I think they're trying to figure out a lot of different things simultaneously all at once. And the most important thing with cold wallets is to buy it directly from the manufacturer, not on Amazon or other sites. Very important. Yes, and when I got this, it was shrink-wrapped, so it's got to be shrink-wrapped. So the last place it was exposed was in the factory when it was being assembled. That's going to give you the highest degree of security. The reason is because you don't want, an intermediary who might have had access to it or something like that. Who knows, right? I'm close to you in Mallorytown. Oh, you're near where Chris Guerra lives. I might actually be driving through there, by the way. Maybe even early as tomorrow. I'll find out, because I only have 3 days. My truck's, as I mentioned before, is in service. So I told my dispatch, I said, hey, if you can give me an internal one in Ontario, like a day trip, then I'm more than willing to do that. So they have a trip. I think they're going to send me to not Ottawa, but very close to Ottawa, and back the same day. So I've actually sent a couple of messages to people in the Ottawa area who want to get their books signed. And I said, listen, if you want to get your book signed, I might be in town either Wednesday or Friday this week. We'll find out. Let's meet at an en route or something like that, because can't exactly park an 18-wheeler in an underground. But if you want to meet an en route or something, let's grab coffee for a half hour. I'll sign some books, let's hang out, and all that sort of stuff. So I'll post something tomorrow, Nisha, and or tonight as soon as I find out, and maybe we can meet up for a little bit and talk and sign some books for those of you who want it. And it is what it is. I disagree with Peterson's suggestion of anonymous. I listen. I can understand. I can understand both sides of this argument because they're both valid. But again, they're not entirely. They're different arguments. One is, should we have a differentiator between anonymous and verified accounts. Or the other argument is, should we not have anonymous accounts? They're different arguments. So, but yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page anyways. So I hear you, brother. Thank you. And thank you for the support. Blue is available right now, registered yesterday. Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, so I'm not friggin' crazy. Let me just show you. I'm going to go on to my Twitter account right now. Let me just make sure. Nothing has happened since you mentioned that. You said yesterday. Okay. Here's my Twitter right now. And what does it say? There's no Twitter Blue. There's Twitter Circle, and that's it. So is there another place to find it that I don't know of? That's for everybody on here. There you guys go. So I can't, well, it's reversed on locals. I don't know what to do, man. Like, I would love to get it. And whether it's, Alyssa says it's $11 now. I think that's just because the conversion. I think it's $8 Canadian, and when they convert it up to 8. You're registered on desktop. Okay, but I tried to do the same thing. I went on, Twitter Blue is on desktop, and it says to me, you can't register on desktop. Well, here it is. Twitter Blue is on the desktop right now. Oh, dude. All right, man. Because before I was getting an error, and it said you need to register on iOS on a mobile device. But here it is. Subscribe. Okay, brother. You just got a star. Thank you very much. I will verify, and I really appreciate it. See, this is why it's so good. You guys know stuff that I don't know. Scott Adams talks about this. This is the best way for us to gain knowledge, because we all know things I know things maybe that some of you don't know, and you all know collectively way more than I'm ever going to know in my life. And this is the best way to trade information. So thanks, man. Looks like I will get Twitter Blue today. So, no, Sonia, I updated the app. So it is what it's. But whatever, I'm going to do it now. I'm No DJ Productions. I appreciate it, brother. I really do. And I owe you a coffee just for that. So we'll figure out a way to get together sometime soon. I'm coming together of information. Wasn't that the original purpose of the internet? Yeah, exactly. The coming together of information. Of course, and we're now starting to do it because all the censors have had a major blow because of Mr. Musket. And we're entering an era of a more free world and a more free internet. It's awesome. So yeah, 100% Alyssa. Okay, so tonight is an event at things bothering me at Canada Christian College. Jordan Peterson and Conrad Black are both having a dialogue, a conversation. And so if you are in the Toronto, I think they're in the Whitby, Ajax area. If you are coming to the event, then if you have a book and you want it signed or you just want to say hello, I really appreciate it. If you don't want to, that's cool as well. And just come on out. It'd be great to see you. It'd be great to, again, I'm on this, starting this process of trying to meet as many of you as possible. And for those of you who are out west, we are talking about something potentially in February out west. I will know more soon when the people who are putting it together. But and if you don't go to the event, I'll release the Newsmax thing tonight, and I will probably talk about it tomorrow if I do a live stream tomorrow morning, which kind of depends on my dispatch and when my truck is ready and all that sort of stuff. So tomorrow morning might be a little bit earlier than normal, but I don't know. This is my life. I'm always trying to, I got to juggle 10 different things at once, and it never stops. Peterson is also supposed to be doing something at the First Ontario Centre February 1st. Could be. Yeah, I'm not sure of, but I am friends with Charles, with Dr. McVitie. We became anyways. That's a long story, and so just to go to support him and to support Jordan and this whole idea of movement of open dialogue and freedom and coming together and inclusive of everybody, even people we disagree with, which is what I really want to focus on. And getting even the woke crowd there. Listen, there's a lot of people that follow me on Twitter, that reach out to me, that consider themselves woke, There's nuance to that. They don't believe in a lot of some of the crazy stuff that we see, but some of them have gone through experiences in life where, like Eliza, I don't know if she is. I don't know if she'd consider herself woke, but there are people like her who've gone through a series of abuses in their lives and they didn't have somebody to turn to, and so we got to be sensitive to the fact that we all have different experiences, and there's reasons that some people maybe buy into the woke narrative that we may not agree with, but we also don't have their experience. So I think a lot will change if we try to give a little bit of understanding and pull them over to a little bit more of the objectivism and away from what's increasingly becoming the woke mob. We want to get them away from the mob. That's the important part, and get them to focus on individualism irrespective of their own experiences and trauma in their life, right? Woke is a spectrum like many other things in life. You know what, Beth? That's the perfect way to describe it. So there are people who've just gone through a lot of things in their lives, and that's what pulls them over. And the rhetoric on either in any political sphere, where there's no one political ideology that has the answer to everything. I tend to be more towards the conservative side, but even I acknowledge there's many things that, fiscal conservative, definitely. But there's many things that it doesn't. That's why I have this whole libertarian aspect to me as well, because there's many things we don't know. It's just how life is. And sometimes things are just not knowable. And some of the kindest people I've ever met in my life, the most open people and the most supportive people I've met in my life are Christian conservatives, social conservatives. Some of them are just some of the warmest people you ever meet. And I've met the equivalent from people who are on the other sides of the political spectrum. So we are all individuals. We're either good people or bad people or somewhere in between. It's a spectrum. We all have the capacity to do good and bad. And we just got to try to focus on do as much good as possible. Okay, anyway, what do I know? I'm just a trucker, right? But what I do know is when you focus on positivity and a positive framing and us coming together, it makes life so much better. It makes it so much easier to get through all these trials and tribulations of life. And that's what I think we can all help each other do. And you guys help me too, by some of your supportive and amazing comments too. You do help me, and I really appreciate it. So, all right, it's 42 minutes in. Don't have a ton of time today. I gotta, do my laundry and clean up, and then I got a whole bunch of emails to respond to. I have a meeting later on. I have a couple of interviews that I got to schedule up and follow with people. And then I got to head out to Jordan's event. And that's just the things off the top of my head. And most of the things are not in my head. Most things are in OmniFocus. I hope that all helps. And remember, this is where we want to get in terms of Bitcoin. It's a process. It took me a couple of years to get to a cold wallet to understand what was going on. So don't feel like you have to understand everything from the get-go. It'll take a while to understand it. Dr. Peterson empowers people by encouraging them to take back control of their lives 100%. By starting with something as simple as making your bed. As far as I can tell, woke mentality, join a mob and blame someone else for their misery by crucifying anyone who doesn't support your views. I agree 100%. And that's why there's people who are like on that woke spectrum. There are people who are not completely into it. They buy into the victimization narrative because they view themselves as victims because they've actually gone through legitimate trauma in their life. I don't think that's the right philosophical way forward. It's difficult to have strength and to be able to forge ahead no matter what, but those are the virtues I was grown up around. I grew up listening to a lot of stories of people who survived death camps, and they forged ahead. And if they can forge ahead, then those of us who have grown up in the most privileged era of human history, we can get through things as well. But, it's all about addressing people's emotional state. K9, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I know you've stepped away for a few days, but it's good to see you back. And Sonia as well, I hope you have an amazing day, all of you. So let's leave it there. If you're going to be there tonight, at the Peterson Conrad Black thing, come say hello. If you have a book you want it signed, don't be shy. I will give you as much time in the world. And if you don't want to, great. Let's just go enjoy the show together. And here's some wisdom. And every day we do that, our life gets a little bit better, right? Okay, so I don't know what's happening tomorrow, but I'm sure I will be around at some point. And Patricia, please send me the PM. Anybody else who needs to contact me about, the Bitcoin questions, for example, I will let you know the Twitter spaces that we hold for beginner Bitcoiners and help everybody on board. And that's it. I hope you have an awesome day and just be good to one another. We'll talk to you soon.